Welcome to Everlasting Talk. Hello, welcome to Everlasting Talk. I'm your host Ever. Today we're doing a biography series. Before we get started, make sure to follow, like, subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and right here our podcast and Spotify. Today we're talking about John Hanson. John Hanson was an American founding father, a merchant, and politician, arguably the first president of the United States. Depends on who you ask. John Hanson was born on April 14, 1721, in Port Tobacco, Maryland, um, on a plantation that was owned by his parents Samuel and Elizabeth, who themselves were wealthy, and Samuel, the father, was serving 2 terms in the Maryland General Assembly. There's little to be known about his life. Many debate that he is a descendant of Swedish origin, and others claim that he was a Moor. Depends on who you ask. This is a episode where people debate on who he is. Not to be confused with John Hanson, who lived a century later, who was a politician in Liberia. People usually use a picture of John Hanson from Liberia as a picture for this John Hanson, but they're two different people. Same name, but two different people. Obviously involved in politics, but they were I think they were not alive at the same time. So yeah, that's probably why people think. Yeah. But anyways, he actually John Hanson. He began his political career being a sheriff of Charles County, Maryland, in 1750. Later, he would serve a 12-year term to represent Charles City County in the lower house of the Maryland General Assembly. At this time, it was still part of the British Empire. By 1769, he left Charles County and moved to Frederick County, Maryland, where he held various positions in the county. By 1774, relations between the colonies and Britain would worsen, opposing various British policies like the Boston Post Act of 1774. He wanted to reconcile with Britain at one point, but the Intolerable Acts of 1774 was passed to punish the people of Massachusetts for the Boston Tea Party, and the other colonies began to resist because they felt it would be anything they do would be they would do the same to them how they did the state of Massachusetts. So they started resisting. Eventually, John Hanson would become the chair of Frederick County, and he would recruit and arm soldiers himself. Sometimes he would use his own money because there was no money given, obviously by the United States, the United States, the colonies, and 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 get most of it to George Washington's army in Virginia, and so he could fight off the British. By 1779, he was assigned a delegate in the Second Continental Congress, going to Philadelphia in 1780. By 1782, he actually proclaimed Thanksgiving as a holiday. So he thought it was important for us to celebrate Thanksgiving. Obviously, there's negative connotations to Thanksgiving, but also the positive, things. So if you ever, carve a turkey or whatever, or have a day off on Thanksgiving, you probably should thank John Hanson because of that, because he thought that holiday was very important. But in 1781, Congress elected him as its president. Spro- um, he would serve a 1-year term. That's usually the protocol it was when it came to serving as president of the Congress. You serve 1 term in 1 year, and that's it. But he would end up suffering from really bad health for the last couple years of his life, and he would pass away on November 15th, 1783, in Forest Heights, Maryland, at his nephew's plantation or estate, whatever you call it. At the time of his death, John Hanson owned 223 acres of land and 11 slaves. Um, so yeah, he was a plantation owner, a slave owner. So, but he left behind 8 children. Some of them end up becoming uh, politicians themselves, or some of his grandkids. His legacy, like I said earlier, many claim he was the actual first president of the United States because he was. They say that George Washington was the president on the battlefield, and John Hanson was the president in Congress. So that's why many claim to be for him to be president. Others claim there was someone else like Peyton Randolph, um, because because um because at the time they would think the president of the Congress was the president of the United States, but that's not the case. But people people say, and it is notated that George Washington is still the first president of the United States. So this is the argument. Um, if you want to look up more about John Hanson himself, there's a memorial in Frederick, Maryland, called the John Hanson National Memorial. On April 14th, actually celebrated John Hanson Day in Maryland. I think one of his great grandsons actually petitioned to have that day. Um, some sources or books you could look into. You could look at John Hanson, Our First President by Seymour Weiss Smith. Many say that he's actually related to John Hanson, so that's why he put the argument out there that John Hanson was the first president. And another one is called Remembering John Hanson by Peter Michael. There's another one. Yeah, like I said, there's not much mentioned about John Hanson, especially when people claim he's the first president of the United States. Obviously, most of history tells you that he's not. And arguably, people thought he was African American, but the people confused him with John Hanson of Liberia because of the photo that circulated. Nobody really knows. It's like obviously, like people that were alive at the time knew who John Hanson. Historians still debate on, where he was born, uh, his ethnicity, his nationality. People say he was Swedish or African American. Other people say that he was born in April, and other people say he was in May. The debate goes on. Whatever it is, he's gonna be debated for a long time. Obviously, through history, George Washington is our president. He's been on George Washington's on the dollar bill. He's the monument and other things as well. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you could do your own research on this. But John Hanson was a unique person that people are confused about to this day about who he actually fully was. Um, yeah, but we do, obviously a lot of things going on, especially with like the founding fathers. He's actually the founding father. He signed the Articles of Confederation. So I know there's usually that there was three parts. There was the Declaration, the Articles of Confederation, and the Declaration of Independence. But John Hanson signed the Articles of Confederation. That was an early document before the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I know I keep these short, but yeah, thank you guys so much. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch. Twitch, I do different things as well. And make sure to like, subscribe, and follow also on Spotify and other um, podcasting services. Thank you guys so much as ever from Everlasting Talk. Next episode, we're gonna talk about Napoleon Hill, Napoleon Bonaparte. Yeah, Napoleon Bonaparte, the Emperor of France. Well, thank you guys so much. See you guys soon, and have a good one. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Everlasting Talk. For more content, follow us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Everlasting Talk. Thank you.